Hey there, folks. We're back. We're going to go through, well, a bunch of the discussion. Very interesting discussion over the last few hours on this arrest situation in the Air Force related to the shooting, the Sig incident or not Sig incident. We keep hearing different things. So let's go through your comments because they're awesome. They're a lot of fun. They're all over the place. All right, the scuttlebutt I heard from another YouTube channel is that apparently another airman has confessed he was dicking around with the pistol when it went off, and Sig is cleared on this one. Interesting how different channels have heard different things. Yeah, so there's a lot of people hearing different things. One thing I started hearing, well, I mean, again, I made a video about it afterward. I started hearing like the definitive, like not definitive because it's just nonsense I'm hearing from people, but I'm hearing like, no, it wasn't the gun, it was some other thing. And then I heard a bunch of different stories, and like the version that you're telling, like that's another version. I've heard that story as well. Like I said, like I don't know what's really true, but we'll see. We'll find out. A lot of people. like to be honest, the people that were posting like Sig killed someone or Sig killed an airman, you didn't hear me say that because it was just like I don't really know that that's true. Like that feels that's too much, even though I'm very sus about that whole incident. Another thing that was bad for Sig, of course, was the document that everybody saw from the Air Force ordering like an inspection of all their guns, and it's kind of like, okay, well, it looks like the Air Force is thinking it's the gun, or somebody's saying it's the gun, or whatever. So it's a pretty interesting incident. And yes, I do think the guys that were posting that Sig killed a guy after this incident, I wouldn't, well, I didn't say that. I wouldn't really say that. Now, looking at a few other incidents, possible. It's possible that happened. But in this incident, I wouldn't say that yet. All right, let's go through, like I said, let's go through the comments here. They're pretty good. Your raw honesty gives me hope in humanity. Well, that's very nice of you to say, sir. Very nice. What will be Ben's Bridge incident? If you don't know the reference, that changed things for PewDiePie's channel. I don't know what my bridge incident will be, and I think shouting like racial slurs when I'm losing at a video game would basically be on brand. I don't know how much, like, I don't know that really moved the needle for a lot of people. I mean, it already sounds like something I would do. So I don't know. I don't know what my bridge incident will be. We'll find out. All right. I love my Glock Koa. I feel like the optic is great, and we have a wide variety of optics in our house. I'm a former owner of an Acro, and the Koa is much better. Smaller footprint and large window. My limited experience with the Koas is that I like them way better than the Acro. It's just getting rid of all that bullshit like the mailbox housing. Way better. Do they hold up? Do they work well? I'm hearing good things so far, so hopefully it works out good. I'm always down for Steger gossip every day. Good, me too. I mean, people don't understand the value in going and like talking about what you're hearing. I mean, you shouldn't go out there and claim to know shit that you don't know, but you should talk about what you think and talk about what you're seeing. And that's why we've been getting so much more information so much faster. The Sig thing is snowballing. It gets a lot more eyes on it. And now we're seeing interesting videos like, oh, the guy's moving the trigger back a little bit with a screw and then manipulating the slide and they can get the gun to go off. And you're like, oh, well, that's actually really interesting. That is sort of starting to make sense when we see the footage of like an officer struggling with somebody and their gun goes off in the holster and you're like, well, what's that? Well, maybe there's some obstruction, like preventing the trigger from going all the way forward or something like that, or there's a mechanical failure preventing that. And then it's one of the examples, one of the 320s that you can move the trigger back and fuck with the slide and get it to go off. Like my gun doesn't do that. But now that we have a lot more eyes on it, people are looking at their own guns and we're seeing like, oh, okay, well, my gun doesn't do that. But if you have a gun that does that and kind of some other things I could think about, like I could see how one of these would go off in a holster. That's how we're getting more information, is we're out there openly talking about this stuff. I think it's a good thing. All right. On Sig's subreddit, they're acting like this is vindication for Sig and are calling for apologies. I think I even saw a few fuck Ben Steger comments. Also, Glock isn't shipping any more of the Koa series. People are saying they're stockpiling to take over the military contracts that Sig is about to lose. Yeah, a lot of people saying that. I don't know what the Sig people are saying. If they think they're like there's nothing wrong with the gun, it's like, well, they already thought that. But I mean, that's another like people kind of jumping and getting to the conclusion they want. All right. Talk to customer service at Aimpoint. And the Koa failure rate is significantly less than the P2, which according to Aimpoint's data was about 0.3%. Okay, well, I'm all right. I'm not really believing that data. Like, based on my observations personally, like, I wouldn't say that that's right, but okay. All right, I did have to warranty my first Koa, but the second is cooking along fine. Okay. So, hopefully the Koa is okay. We'll see. The incident with the airmen not being attributable to the Sig failing would be like the last part of the story where there really is a wolf and the whole village doesn't believe the kid watching the flock. Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation to that. I mean, it's at the point where, the one video maybe a month ago where the guy was a concealed carry permit holder and you see the video from behind him and you see his arms go up and he like touches his center line and his gun goes off. Looking at that, it's well, I don't really see him draw the gun. You can't see that. It was quick. It's hard for me to see him how he would even access the trigger, or just based on the position of his arms and watching how he moves, right? And his story is, well, he just went to adjust his holster or belt and the gun went off. That's his story. Now you look at that and you're like, apart from the 320 stuff, you just look at a situation like that and you're like, man, it looks funky from the video angle I see and I read the guy's story, but it's just hard to believe, again, that the gun just went off by itself. But based on all this other stuff we've seen and the fact that it's a 320, you're just kind of like, I don't know, man. Maybe. It gives you doubt. And that's kind of the problem right now, is like there's a lot of doubt. We're like, it's hard to know what exactly is going on. All right, let's pretend for a second that there's nothing wrong with the 320. How does a company like Sig find themselves reputationally where they currently are? Well, yeah, see, like, again, that's another problem here that created this like perfect storm for Sig was, well, you can just sit back and watch over the years and kind of assess their public statements. It was, hey, this gun's great. It's the most tested gun ever. And then you start hearing, oh, the gun's not drop safe. Well, what does Sig do? They do a voluntary upgrade to stop the trigger from having too much inertia, I think is how it was explained. Okay. All right. But they didn't say we're recalling it because it's not drop safe. They said it's a voluntary upgrade because it gives the trigger less inertia and changes some other things or whatever. And then some time goes on, and then it's like, well, you can't make the gun go off without actuating the trigger. Okay. And then we see video of the guys moving the trigger to the rear a little bit and then fucking with the slide and getting the gun to go off. Then Sig doesn't acknowledge what we've all just seen and change the story. It's like, now instead of actuating the trigger, you have to move it to the rear and then the gun will go off. So you see what I mean there? It's like this subtle changes in what they're saying, and they don't really seem open and honest. Let me put it that way. It seems like you just watch the way they communicate and it's like, seems like these guys are full of shit. Also, the amount of money that they put out there, they've clearly got a lot of people doing marketing for them, clearly, and that's getting to the point where I think that's starting to backfire because it's just the volume of people doing that, and then the amount of messaging they're doing. Again, it starts to work against them. All right, another comment. Too late. I'm doubling down. I thought that was great. It's so funny. The videos of people just moving the trigger 1 to 2 millimeters and shaking the slide, triggering the firearm, still keeps me from using my P320 as anything other than a range toy that I'll never leave chambered with a round. I mean, yeah, that's fair enough because, again, you see that and you're like, I don't think it's supposed to do that. And then it's not hard to start thinking about scenarios where it's like, this is getting towards understanding how these things go off in holsters. Maybe. Oh, another good one. Rumor is they found a pristine passport at the scene of the crime. You guys are awesome, crazy. It was awesome. All right, my 3-year-old asked why you don't get a haircut. I don't know. I don't have to. It's fun to look like a schlub. It's good times for me. Anyway, guys, I'll keep watching the situation. It's very entertaining for sure. And just when I think it's like, oh, this thing's winding down, like more stuff keeps happening. Fantastic.